the CEO and founder of Air Peace, a Nigerian airline, accessed because of how expensive it has become. Basic food items, staple foods are no longer available or affordable in major homes. Right now is 100. Usually it was 101, but now is 100. For some persons, some families have to do it in such a way that the parents eat little just so that the kids can survive. It's quite unfortunate in that regard. Mr. Elvis Ali Mahela, are you with us? Mr. Elvis, are you still with us?
I'm with you. I can hear you.
All right. There is a recent development with Allen Onyema, the CEO and founder of Air Peace, a Nigerian airline. He's been charged in superseding indictment with obstruction of justice for submitting false documents to the government in an effort to end an investigation of him that resulted in earlier charges of bank fraud and money laundering. Now, the airline's chief of administration and finance, whose name is Ejiro Gene Egaga, was also charged for participating in the obstruction scheme as well as the earlier bank fraud counts. Okay, now these cases represent continued commitment of the Drug Enforcement Administration to identify and hold accountable those who engaged in fraud and money laundering. Now, the thing is this: allegedly, Onyema and his accomplices allegedly fraudulently used the U.S. banking system in an effort to hide the source of their money. And this was made or reeled out by the Assistant Special Agent in charge, Liza Fontanet. Yes, she's the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the case, the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Atlanta Field Office. So according to what they're saying, the charges demonstrates the criticality of diligence and truth in criminal justice proceedings. And according to the U.S. Attorney Buchanan, the superseding indictment and other information presented in court, Onyema, a Nigerian citizen and businessman who is the CEO and chairman of Air Peace, a Nigerian airline founded in 2013, between 2010 and 2018, Onyema traveled frequently to Atlanta, where he opened several personal and business bank accounts. More than $44.9 million was allegedly transferred into his Atlanta-based accounts from foreign sources. Now, the question is, why is this coming out now? What happened? Because it was a thing of pride when Allen Onyema, indigenous, and I mean, you know how he has always come through whenever there are emergency cases and the federal government is not able to be reactionary to lift off Nigerians wherever it is they're staying. A couple of people have attributed this whole thing to tribal whatever. They've attached tribal sentiment to the whole ordeal. I want to know briefly what your take is here. And I'll also hear from Barrister Darlington before we open the phone lines.
Yeah, Esther, when I saw that story again came up today, I was shocked. Allen Onyema is one of Nigerians that I respect so much. He has been a Nigerian that very destabilized. He's not even after whether this is Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. You see all the rescue, he has rescued Nigerians, in some of these troubled regions of the world. And, and his profile is intimidating, to the world recently, of what he's doing in aviation, what he's doing. So I'm not surprised that, when this matter went down and it's coming up again, most of these international routes is promising that he's even talking about, opening an international route to the U.S. any moment from now. I mean, these are things that have to do with international politics.
Do you think it's because of his competitors? Because a couple of people feel like he had issue. There was, Festus Keyamo had to intervene when there was that's the UK route, right? I think there were certain routes that Allen Onyema was asking to be able to fly, and then we were talking about the fact that these airlines were trying to hold on to their monopolistic tendencies with the aviation industry. And that Allen Onyema being able to break through that rigidity could be one of the reasons why all of this is coming up. Do you think that's what the case is?
That's exactly what I was telling you now, that his profile has become, very intimidating to these monopolies that have, siphoned our Nigerians over the years in aviation system, in aviation industry. So somebody of this nature, when the mango tree has fruit that is right, stones will always come true. I'm not surprised that this matter has resurrected again. because they have seen that he has broken the monopoly in UK, London trip now, and it's working towards moving to America for the same thing, for the same issue. So these people are ready, and this is where I need Nigerian government now actually to play a role. International politics in economy now.
Okay.
They have to actually join in investigating and supporting this man, Allen Onyema. Because most of their so-called businessmen over there, how many of them, are clean? Let us now begin to use our own international policies as well. Especially, I have to even give it to the present Minister for Aviation. All the support he has been able to run some of the domestic airlines to make them, viable. They should not back up from that, because these international communities are ready to make sure that their monopoly, in this aviation industry, what they have been enjoying over the years, they don't want another person to come in and know what is going on, because they don't even want economy of other countries to thrive, because they enjoy giving us aid instead of us, being able to do what we're supposed to do for ourselves. So whatever is coming up, I think Nigerian government should be able to stand with Allen Onyema and make sure that this matter do not erode airpeace off the air, because we know the number of persons that are working there today, the number of employment that are given to Nigerians, and many people that are seeking for him. So they should not come up with some top allegation or whatever charges, to take off airpeace off the sky. Nigerians should be able to stand by their own and be able to get to the root of this matter and make sure that this man continue to work as he's working. His property is intimidating to them. That's why most of these things are coming up, Esther. This is international politics at play.
All right. Barrister Darlington, beginning in approximately May 2016, Onyema, together with Egaga, allegedly used a series of export letters of credits to cause banks to transfer more than $20 million into Atlanta-based bank accounts controlled by Onyema. The letters of credit were purportedly to fund the purchase of 5 separate Boeing 737 passenger planes by Airpeace and were supported by documents such as purchase agreements, bills of sale, and appraisals. The documents purportedly the manager's identity to further the fraud. How do you think Onyema will get out of this?
Esther, anybody that has committed a crime anywhere in the world, either Nigeria and outside, should go and face the music. They should investigate the matter thoroughly, and if there is any infraction committed by anybody, let the person face the music. I will only be angry with everybody who is involved in that matter if there is selection of justice or persecution. Because before Onyema's case, we had Halliburton. And you know all the individuals involved in Halliburton case.
Yes.
All of them are sitting pretty in Nigeria here. Whereas in the US, their own counterpart has been put to jail. That is on record. You know of an Abakari who was into drugs and money laundering. The US government requested for him officially from Nigerian government.
Well, this is so sad, because they published damning details which revealed how the chief executive officer of Airpeace, Allen, allegedly used fake documents to swindle the Central Bank of Nigeria of dollars for foreign exchange. So,
you hear what I said? I said anywhere. Either in Nigeria or outside, and I'm telling you that there are cases even worse than Onyema.
Okay.
Why are people not talking about it? That's my question. That's my anger here.
Okay.
Yes. Example is better than precepts. If we begin to treat people according to their behavior, maybe it will act as a deterrent to other people. But when you allow one criminal to get away, others will fall into his shoes and do the same thing. I was just telling you here, other people who have done worse cases, worse things, and yet we allowed it to fly. Please, Esther, are you telling me that the documents Atiku brought from CSU in Chicago University is not enough to put some people in jail? Tell me, after all, somebody who did something in Tunisia is serving jail time now. Are you telling me that such a thing is not worthy? for the Nigerian government to say, no, we cannot tolerate this. So if you can allow that to fly, why is that peace the issue here? Tell me, why is that peace the issue here? Is that particular offense, is it not worse than what you are accusing MPs of? Because we are talking of the highest office in the land. And you got it through that means. I mean, how do you define fraud and deceit? Let us start from the beginning now. Yeah, that's what we are saying here. If you are committed of anywhere, anybody, yes, there's the music. That has to clean up this society.
Right.
Why is the American government prosecuting Donald Trump today? Was it not because of what he did during the last election? So that no other presidential candidate will come and behave in such a manner. That has to clean up your society. You don't select who to prosecute and who to leave. You are not making it worse. You are messing up the fight against corruption, against criminality.
All right.
And nobody who is reasonable will say, yes, you have done well. Oh. When you are selecting those to prosecute and those to leave, you cannot make progress. You can't.
Well, Allen Onyema has responded to this, but I mean, if they've been able to expose a couple of details, this matter is still in court. Although their request, I think Allen Onyema is going to appeal this, and I'm sure he has his legal counsel to see how they can help him through. A lot of Nigerians have reacted. Okay.
Yes, you have to appeal because even Badabi Amila, who is the chief of staff to Tinubu, he has been sentenced in the U.S. court for criminal conduct. Badabi Amila, he has been sentenced as the citizen in Asoro. He's an ex-convict.
Barrister Darlington.
Officially.
Where did you get a document from? Where did you get this information from?
Let him challenge it. Let him challenge it. I said the U.S. court has sentenced him.
This is Barrister Darlington's reaction and statement comment. All right. Barrister Darlington. Barrister Darlington, just hold on.
Yes.
Mr. Elvis, let's look at the situation with IPOB. They have on Wednesday, right? They disclosed that they are fighting to liberate the southeast from Nigeria and actualize the independent state of Biafra. And this was reacting to a statement attributed to the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, regarding its agitation. In a statement that was addressed to Musa and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, Ima Powerful, that's IPOB spokesperson, said the group was formed to defend the interests of the Biafran people and to champion its peaceful exit from Igbo-phobic nation. That's what he said. So he's actually directing them to possibly leave them alone. And the Chief of Defense Staff has said that any community, any entity that strives to divide Nigeria, they will fight against it. I think that's basically where this reaction is coming from. So they're claiming the ignorance of everything. They're saying if the Nigerian government is actually on a murdering spree and that what IPOB is trying to do is to protect its own people. Meanwhile, they're also telling the chief of the NSA, that's the National Security Advisor, that they are fighting legally, both locally and internationally, so that the effort of the Nigerian government to blackmail them through its officials, both through civilians and military, is an effort in futility. Do you think that's the truth?
Well, the fight for emancipation of the Biafra,
yes,
is going to take a very long time.
Okay.
This matter started since the Civil War to where we are today. Nobody thought after the Civil War that anything like Biafra was going to come up again. For Biafra, for some years now, has come up and it's true.
Okay.
That is because of the injustice that this our brothers from the South, he kept on repeating that they have been marginalized and like ostracized from Nigeria. And this is correct. We have seen so much of such injustice, on our brothers from the South. So if this is going to come up or is going to be, I think it's going to take a long while. And the way it is being forced now, that's the only way I'm not happy about it. That now, because of IPOB, even their brothers and sisters from the Southeast who are going to enjoy the Biafra, even if they get independence later on in life, and I'm facing persecution as a result of insecurity. If there is a way, more powerful and whoever that is involved with all this IPOB matter to safeguard their brothers and sisters, secure them. They should do that. It's not that they are committing the people they pretend that they are fighting for. It is not a good one, Esther. I'm not in support of that. But for the injustice that the nation have lamented that on them, the corrections to start coming up. We talked about this thing, I think 2 weeks ago in the studio, Esther. When we talking about all the 3 arrows that were promised, restructuring, rehabilitation, and integration after the war, how most of them have been done by the government to the war ended in 1970 now. So if we some of the things that are waking up some of these sleeping dogs again. So if these things are coming up, the government knows that they have a responsibility towards them. So all these responsibilities should not be aggravated with some other, inflammatory statements from the Chief of Defense Staff and all that. It should be a way that people should be integrated into the system. Nigeria as a nationhood, and everybody in Nigeria should enjoy the same egg as it goes around everybody. Like I was saying that day in the studio, that they need to also have a fifth state to make the geopolitical zone at least six among the geopolitical zones of this nation. So all these things have to be coming up. Dialogue and meeting and resolving issues as expected. And the crime which some people are hiding under IPOB to torment the South Easterners, that should be taken off. If the injustice is taken care of, some people who now come off the crime cannot be fished out and punished appropriately. But for activists now, it's easy. It's easy because the people are still talking about marginalization, and you and I can see that so much. So I think the government should play down on inflammatory statements and begin to think of how to amend the already done wrong towards them so that peace can reign.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Elvis Elimehele. Barrister Darlington, what do you have to say in a minute so that we can take the phone call concerning the situation with IPOB's reaction to the Chief of Defense Staff and the NSA?
Esther,
sir?
You see, it is said that when you want to hang a dog, you give it a bad name.
This is your phrase. You always use this phrase.
Yeah. Hello?
I said this is your phrase. You always use this phrase.
Good. Because all the thing that is going on in the north, which everybody know, if you want to compare it to what IPOB is doing in the southeast, it's like two fighting in the southeast, and then actual terrorism in the north. Please, where are you supposed to concentrate your efforts in order to stop? Where are you supposed to concentrate your efforts? You can imagine. We left the real problem of Nigeria and we are taking shadows. This idea of going to the UN to say that IPOB is killing military people in the southeast. Why are they there in the first place? Why are they there? All this thing that they are doing is in order to cow the Igbos, the Southeasterners, to keep quiet. Meanwhile, the real problem in the north, they're supposed to even find a solution to. Nobody talking about it. Please, was it IPOB that is causing this thing in the north? Because these are the reasons why some of us get angry with these people. When they come up with this idea of trying to be more patriotic than the real patriots. If you truly love Nigeria, will you allow terrorists to come to your region and start disturbing the whole country? Were you not the one that invited them? When did IPOB become a terrorist group? When? Mention any other country in the whole world that sees IPOB as a terrorist group. The UN is interested in what is going on in the southeast. They are interested in what is going on within Africano. So you mean to tell me that the whole United Nations is supporting a terrorist group in Nigeria? These people have no shame. I'm telling you, they have no shame. At the point, Buhari government was begging the UK to proscribe IPOB as a terrorist group. The UN simply snubbed them. They were begging them to see them as a terrorist group. They didn't even bother to listen to them. What does that tell you? Every time they go to the southeast, where there's no problem, and create a problem there. Esther, you were here in the month of March, when 2 trailer loads of people were brought from the north, and they were deposited in Imo State. They said they came for hunting. They came for on a hunting spree in Imo State. Is that not true? Those people, have they come back? Where is that forest in Imo State where somebody can do such a business? Hunting. all the evil forests in the north, all the ungoverned area in the north, they didn't see that place to go and hunt, where they will see big games.
Because President Allen, Imapa also said that other ethnic groups in Nigeria are in support of it, and that if the Nigerian government and its general think that IPOB is fighting for its own interests, let them fix a date for a Biafra referendum as demanded by IPOB to prove their claims. If there is a fix for a referendum, do you think a lot of Nigerians will sign that referendum? Do you think they'll be part of it?
You see, this government, in fact, they are not intelligent enough. Oh. You know that with what they have done so far in the Southeast now, they have hardened the mind of the Southeasterners. Those who did not believe in IPOB before and then the Carlo, they are beginning to believe in them now because of what they are doing to them. Have you witnessed the humiliation people go through when they are traveling to the Southeast along that axis?
But don't you think, because the way they sound, they I don't know, but what Emma Powerful is saying that is the Nigerian security agencies that are sponsoring the activities of the terrorists in the Southeast, and that the Nigerian security agencies also sponsor the agents provocateurs who are committing all manner of crimes in Biafra land, and that these sponsored criminals turn their guns against Indibo in order to make the Biafra agitation unattractive. But a couple of persons who have been caught with arms and ammunition south of the southeastern region, and in some instances some of them are basic criminals, not necessarily attached to IPOB or anything. So in this instance, would you blame the Nigerian security agency? Would you blame the Nigerian army for that? Because some of these individuals have unilaterally carried out the activities on their own.
I will blame them. In the first place, look at how this is started. Because people don't discuss the genesis of a problem. They only see the problem when people reacted. In the first place, how did the Hope Uzodinma become the governor of Imo State? That's what where they started, because they needed somebody who will support their evil agenda. We had governors in Imo State, and there was no single noise throughout their tenure. How come under Hope Uzodinma this thing escalated? How come? Where number 4 became number 1? Esther, have you asked yourself that question? How come? When did the Igbo people become so aggressive that they are killing people, fighting each other? At what point? Since the creation of Nigeria, Esther, mention one day where the Igbos were agitating or protesting or shouting or killing people and telling people to go back to their own region. Mention one day. Even during the war, Esther, no Hausa man was killed in Igbo land. Ojuku protected them. We didn't retaliate all they did to us. We did not retaliate. Even when Ojuku was receiving headless bodies of Igbos at Umuahia station, he did not ask people to go and retaliate. He protected all of them. So, if we do not kill people that time, is it not that we start killing people, Esther? Answer me. To tell you that this was deliberately done. That's why I keep telling you that when you want to hang a dog, you give it a bad name. It is not in our culture to kill, not to talk of killing an equal person. It's not. Quote me anywhere. It is not. It's not in our character. This was upon us.
But with this long letter, with this long letter or response from Emma Powerful, do you think it would change anything? Because it was quite a lengthy one in them trying to describe to them the fact that it's not a violent organization.
Hold on, listen very well. Look, nobody can change an idea whose time has come. Esther, the Israelites was in bondage in Egypt for 430 years. When the time came, and one stubborn Pharaoh wanted to stop the agenda of God, what happened to him? He died at the Red Sea. Esther, he died at the Red Sea. And since that day till now, you cannot ever mention the name of Egypt again. They died because they wanted to stop the agenda of God. And the Israelites are now the number 4 most powerful nation in the whole world.
All right, Barrister Darlington, let's take some calls. Okay. All right. Hello. Good evening.
Esther.
How are you? Yes, good evening.
Thank you. Happy Sunday and happy new coming week, working week in advance.
Thank you very much.
My name is Peter Usifa. I'm calling from Abanaja.
All right, Peter, go ahead, please.
Your two guests are spoken very well.
Okay.
But I'm not so comfortable.
Okay.
Because two of them are speaking from the same perspective. We should have brought made it to be balanced somehow.
That's why I brought Barrister Darlington. Yeah, I needed some legal perspective concerning the Allen Onyema case.
You came with Elimehele, you are speaking from the same
Elimehele is not a
perspective,
barrister.
the same
He's
opinion.
just a political national association of
I
first commentator.
know. Anyway, that is my own.
Okay.
But be that as it may, let me comment on the issues at stake.
All right.
First of all, on River State, I want to say that the impending case that, the Fubara are taking to Supreme Court, that is the appeal case, which somehow said that the 800 billion naira budget was nullified, void and law.
Yes.
Like for me, it's okay. And this is the beginning of the end of Fubara, because I believe that the new after the Supreme Court, he is impeached or he may humbly resign.
You think
then
so?
Finally, going to Amechi himself.
All right.
I think he's speaking like an agreed politician. Because a member of APC, I have not seen anybody is no more a member of APC. And he's calling for revolution. That's liking the public. For what? Is it because he's not having any position now? So you should stop it and go and relax and stop inciting the public unnecessarily.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. 0700.
The crisis rocking Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, intensified during the week. Although a cold war has raged among different caucuses of the party for some time now, tensions fled after Damagum suspended the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, and National Legal Advisor Kamaldeen Ajibade for alleged insubordination. Ologunagba retaliated by suspending Damagum and National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu for anti-party activities. The drama took a fresh turn when a federal high court in Abuja halted efforts to remove Damagum and Anyanwu until the party's 2025 National Convention. Meanwhile, PDP stakeholders are considering a caretaker committee with an emergency meeting of the party's governors forum set for Monday to address the PDP's future. A chieftain of the party, Segun Showumi, joins us now to dig deeper into the ensuing drama within the PDP at a time Nigerians expect a more vibrant opposition to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Showumi. But let's go straight into it. How did we get here? When we talk about this initial friction within the PDP NWC and how it escalated to the current split, we're seeing these both factions having issued suspensions against key figures in the party. What is your view on the legitimacy of these suspension notices, especially looking at the letter to the Court of Appeal concerning the 27 de factos from the Rivers State House of Assembly that has been a focal point in this conflict? And how does this case factor into the larger political crisis within the PDP, especially when we look at the intervention of the PDP Board of Trustees being able to resolve this crisis? A lot of questions there, but I really want to know, Mr. Showumi, over to you.
Okay, good morning. You're packed in so much, so I'll try to cleverly navigate. I think the first thing that is important for me is that if there be any validation to the rumor that the present president as a politician is a master strategist, I think it is in ensuring that of all the people in the PDP that he could pull out and appoint, it was Governor Nyesom Wike. It's like taking the key man risk of our organization and putting us in a very, very difficult situation. And that, from that context, you will begin to, I'll start to peel it down now. Now, let us first of all say, does the PDP NWC as constituted have the power to suspend its members? And what is the process of doing that? Yes, they have those powers. But what is the process? The process is that the NWC must be in situ. They must be in a meeting. And when they're in a meeting, whatever they want to discuss must be presented. When it is presented, people must be allowed to be aware that they're being, discussed, or if you like, tried. And then a committee must be set up. Voting must take place to determine whether the action is subject or not. And thereafter, some kind of suspension or whatever they want to do can then be pronounced. Of course, the person that has proceeded has also relief. But you cannot, with all seriousness, just be called to have been suspended by your peers, and then your reaction will be go to the media and say you have suspended the people that suspended. That is madness. I'm saying that the NWC that suspended the National Publicity Secretary and the National Legal Advisor were within the privileges and the right granted them to do so. That the National Publicity Secretary then as if he's waking up from a drunken sleep, now say he has suspended the chairman and the secretary. There is no provision for our constitution for that. For them to be able to say they want to suspend the national chairman and secretary, they will first of all have to be in an NWC meeting. They will have to bring a vote of no confidence on them. It will have to be captured within their ESCO minutes, and we will have to have the record of same. It's like saying you are a member of the board of trustees of a bank, and then you go to a board meeting and maybe the MD and co, they suspend maybe the legal advisor of the bank. And then he steps out of the meeting, having been excused, and then says, oh, I've also suspended the... No. Democracy may be an all-comers game. It also has some rigid rules that must be followed. So, gentlemen of the media, members of the fourth realm of the state, the only suspension that is for now valid is the suspension of the publicity secretary, Debo Olugbagba, and that of the legal advisor. The other one is just head here annoyances that can make a situation look worse than it really is. That one settled. On the issue of, what happened in Rivers? Remember I said, if there be anything that I can now accept that Bola Tinubu is the master strategist, is in picking out Governor Nyesom Wike, former Governor Nyesom Wike, and appointing him. Is that so? This present NWC that we have, the Iyoshe Ayu NWC, was an NWC that was put together by the team of people that included Governor Wike, Seyi Makinde, and all of those men that were riding then. And because they put that NWC together, significant interest as to how that NWC came about has ownership. What I mean by that is that when you want to put an NWC together in the PDP, we divide the things into two, north and south. Then we go back into the north and the south and then divide it into zones. Then we go back into the zone and then couple the states in twos and then divide it into... Obviously, under that kind of circumstances, governors having larger than life influence over the party now contributes materials and persons into that place. So, by removing Governor Nyesom Wike and giving him an appointment in the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has created a major crisis for the ruling party. Why is it a crisis? One, Governor Wike was smart enough to write everybody that needs to be given a letter that I have been invited to come and serve. Those who should have given him the terms of acceptance of that service did not do so. They gave him a blank check to go and serve. Is there precedent to that? Yes. As the governor, former governor, because he was also a governor, Attorney General of the country, Bola Ige, was an AD man who went to serve in an Obasanjo government. But the characters then are different. Obasanjo is not the type of person who will allow his Attorney General to be the stability of the country. I don't know why that is being allowed now. But the truth be that we are now at a situation where what must PDP now do? So that will explain why it's possible for the situation in Rivers to be the way they are. And it's possible for the NWC, in fairness to them, to be careful not to overheat the situation in Rivers. I am told that one of the reasons that became a tipping point for the Debo suspension was that the NWC, in a meeting of all of them, had taken a position that, look, now that Rivers is this way, we will not offer any official comment relative to their local government election because the PDP as a political party suddenly is not even participating. Now, they allege and they claim that Debo Ologunagba, on his own, without referring to the committee of whole or even taking approvals, then issued a meeting to say, a release to say, Rivers people should go and participate in an election that PDP itself was not participating. Anyway, I'm not interested in the rightness or wrongness of the action. I'm only here to say that it's childish for you to be suspended and then to overheat the party by saying you can also have a power to suspend others. And then it becomes even more laughable when high-ranking members of the party who should say, no, this is not the right way, now begin to genuflect and begin to act as though they are polarizing the party even more. Well, unfortunately, I believe that now that the governor of Bauchi State, the chairman of the Governors Forum, has now decided that, okay, things are now getting dangerously out of hand. It's time for them to come together. It's time for them to figure out what will now be a consensus agreement. Because like I always say to them, we can argue on decision. We can even argue on how we got to those decisions. What we must not do is pretend as if we can have action without consensus. Let me repeat that again. We can argue on how we got to a decision. We can argue to the rightness or otherwise of that decision. But for us to make progress, we must have what you call consensus of action. That means everything has gone helter-skelter. We must come together now and say, okay, now that we're here, what is the consensus action steps to get us out of this mess? Because Nigerians are really not interested in the bickering of the PDP at the national level. And to our credit, we don't have that kind of problems at the state and at the local government. So our prayer now is that all members of the National Caucus, get your act together so that you don't destabilize us at the states and at the local government. And luckily, we have just gone through a lot of state congresses, and I think we're beginning to step out of that now. So I believe that, yes, we'll solve this problem and we'll solve it soon.
All right, Mr. Shomi, let me take it off from there. And I like the fact that you provided a lot of...
Steve?
Yes, that's Steve. Good morning. Good morning. This is
Good morning,
Steve.
my man.
Good to have you on this beautiful Sunday morning.
I can't see you. That's why I asked.
I can see you.
Yeah.
All right. My point is, I was going to ask initially before you provided, enough context to the question by Shaitan. What I was going to ask originally was that isn't this a proxy war essentially between the Atiku camp and then the Wike camp at the G5 or the G7?
You are too brilliant, Steve. Steve, you are too brilliant. That's why I love you. You are too brilliant. Now, let me go to that. You see, before we got to the primaries of the presidential election in 2023, I had taken a closer look at what was the potentials of our challenges at that time when then Governor Wike was campaigning and trying to be president. And of course, those of us that were pushing Atiku were also campaigning. I had gone first to Atiku to tell him, Your Excellency, if yourself and Governor Nyesom Wike are not careful, you will destroy this party. And he was shocked. I said, I'll tell you why. As for you, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the number of times you've been contesting election has provided such a large gravitas that no one can measure your reach anymore. But you must concede that Governor Wike, who is able to manage governors at the level he's managing them and invest at the level he's investing, is no longer someone we can afford to handle this way. And then to make it sure that I was not speaking to one side, I also went to Governor Wike, my only one time I ever met him. And I said to him, my dear Governor Nyesom Wike, if you guys don't take it easy with yourself, between yourself and Atiku Abubakar, you're going to destroy this party. And I relayed the same thing. So that's why I said you are very brilliant. What I see happening with us is that we have accepted the idea of a tit for tat. Oh, in 2015, the Atiku and Bukola Saraki and co, they left the party and destroyed the party and did Jonathan. Therefore, in 2023, they didn't treat Wike. When are we going to draw the line and say, organizations go through challenges? But one of the critical components that allows organizations to relax and form is that they must have a broad view on reconciliation. And what ought to be the broad view on reconciliation? They need to draw the line of the hate. You can't continually insist that, oh, he offended me, I'll do this, he offended me, I'll do that. And then you're going to make the party constantly be like rats that are, tapping on a hot plate. So, Steve, you are right. And I think that as we proceed,
yeah, but you didn't let
my hope is that when we get to the neck.
Mr. Showme, you didn't let me land on
all right, Steve, forgive me.
Yeah, because the whole idea is that when you say that Ashwaju was brilliant, was smart, was the master strategist in picking Wike, you know, of course, that he won't pick Wike alone. And I was going to add the fact that when you went to meet Oshoko, former Governor Fayose, was that a skit or was it genuine? Yeah. Or was it genuine? Because you know that where Wike is, it is likely that you will find Oshoko there, and it is unlikely that Governor Fayose will work against Tinubu. And so the question that people are asking is that if Wike is with him,
was it a joke?
Hold on, if Wike is with him, Daniel Bwala is back to him, Reno Omokri is with him. The question will be, when will you, Segun Showunmi, not be picked by Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Okay, all right. Okay, go. Thank you very much for this question. Thank you very, very much, Steve. I love you, Now, you see, I had to go to Ayodele Fauci, a former governor of Ekiti State. One, because I know how he can be very strong and very persuasive, almost like a prophet. He sat down at a reception for Similaye and offered some words which seemed a little bit grand. But today we have seen that those words were not exactly as grand as that. They were almost prophetic. So what I had gone to do with Ayo was that I had called him to tell him I needed him to let us meet. When I got to site, they said it was at the site. So I told my boss, let me go to Ayo. Yeah, I might get there and it might become a very convoluting, conversation. But I'm only going there to speak to him, to beg him that let us not allow a party that has given all of them so much to die. And I wanted to, inspire him that, look, what is the advantage of a one-party state in a country that is as large and as, the way we have multiple ethnicity, all of the issues around religion, that we can't, even if everybody were to empty into APC, I was trying to tell him that they will only end up imploding that party because one party will not be able to contain all of your interests, all of your contents. And I was pushing Ayo and I was convincing Ayo and I was begging Ayo. I even laid down, I held his leg that Ayo, please try. What was I hoping? I was hoping that something would shift in him. I was hoping that when he begins to reflect on the things I was saying to him, I was hoping that he then begins to do a bit of a pushback. And I was aware of some of the things Ayo was doing privately. Let me share one. I knew that Ayo was working very hard to provide a relationship with the governor of Osun State now and the powers that be so that they don't just go into the place and create a mess. So I saw that, okay, here's Ayo on one side. People accuse him of what they accuse him of in Ekiti, which he tells me, Segun, the governor is just so polite. So it gives me difficulty to be angry with him like that. My people are disrespecting me, they don't want to see me. So I take that as a problem. But on the other hand, I knew that Ayo was working very hard to support and help the Osun State governor, Adeleke. So I just said, okay, maybe Ayo is still able to be convinced and we can pull him back. And I couldn't have done it better than that. And it was not a skit. And I was happy. I just wanted the world to know that, look, at the end of the day, if a 26, 27-year-old institution created by Nigerians themselves, in multi-party democracy that has survived, if it dies, if its verdict is to die, at least I can write, I, Otunba Segun Showunmi, did everything humanly possible until it became clear to me that it's going to die. And then obviously I will not die in that party with them. And on the question of whether I would join Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, look, he knows me, I know him, and we have extremely mutual respect for ourselves and our intellect. I have started looking at the policies he's running and some of the ideas he's pushing and the difficulty he's having in marketing those ideas. I can give you 4 that I think, okay, I get it. This guy is up to something. The first is the taxation policy. If you haven't found anybody, Zach is a great asset. He has the ability to explain complex ideas in a way that you get it. And I see what they're trying to do there, especially if they succeed in ensuring that MDA holding money and wasting money and creating time and not paying taxes is removed. And then we can then have a relationship between those who are paying contract, which is the Ministry of Finance, and the contractors. That is super brilliant. So I've been scared of taking myself out of the PDP and adding my own capacity and my competence to an already strong party. I promise you the PDP will die. They won't be able to compete. Even as it is now, we are struggling to even get them to focus on the important things. They'll go for an election. They won't plan themselves well. They won't put in all the energy. They'll come back and shout to somebody and beat them. We're going to do Ondo in a few days. I can tell you because I know. Most people have not put anything there by way of support, except the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. All the other 12, 13 governors, they are pretending as if they don't have an election in Ondo. When they get to Ondo now and all of the APC machinery moves in there, all the support, people raise money and go and win an election, what will they do? They come and start shouting, they've been rigged. So my issue with them, my issue with the party is that I've been trying to get the party to focus on the important things and leave all this conversation of ESCO, this and that, all over, away from the place. Because anyway, the Nigerian people expect us to provide opposition work.
Right. You have extra worry that the PDP may die. And, you know, obviously the crisis in Rivers State remains a test to our democracy at this moment. You've said that, you know, Wike was smart enough to tender a letter seeking permission to go and serve in the APC or in an APC government. And in doing so, he followed, you know, proper procedure. But your members have been accusing the FCT minister of anti-party activities. What is the PDP doing about Wike? When will the PDP expel Wike? I mean, is he still a member of your party? We are seeing your members trying to force a leadership without change. And also, we understand that, you know, PDP governors will meet tomorrow to consider, you know, many options of resolution in your within your party. What sort of resolutions would you like to see as we wrap?
Okay, let me first of all deal with the Wike issue. I've been trying to say to people that, look, PDP has found itself relative to Wike, the same way Pontius Pilate has found himself relative to Jesus. If the mob wants the heads of Jesus, there was nothing Pontius could do. When they wanted the head of John the Baptist, there was nothing the world could do. It seems to me that the combined effort of the Nigerian public, the PDP members themselves, the media, and all persons of goodwill, there is a consensus that Governor Wike has to be punished or be seen to be punished or expelled or whatever. That's what I sense from what we hear everywhere we go. And unfortunately, to do that, you have to understand the business of the procedure of decisions that you can take that can stand. If a man has a court order telling you can't touch him, of course, you can be angry and say, I've touched him. But what does that really do? You're going to go back to court and start having the issue of you had no right to touch him. Any decision you take from that day will be ultra various, will be wrong. PDP is on a very delicate sliding ice skate where the sun is up. In 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the sun will tear up the whole ice and the skates will be of no use. In the case of Rivers, in my opinion, is the case of, have we created a sympathy movement for the victim in such a way that we did not bother to ask ourselves, what did the victim do that they are beating him? Back to the Siminalayi Fubara Wike issue. I've quarreled with the fact that how did you guys go and create an arrangement that produces a Siminalayi Fubara as governor through Wike, where Wike was practically fighting everybody to install him? Why didn't that relationship get managed, number one? And if you are going to fight, why would you start a fight before you get a great number of the assembly members to be on your side? Are you the first, the second, the third? I can give you 10 people. Take the case of Ogun. Bikore Amosu, my brother, was governor underneath a structure that belonged totally to Aremo Shoba. Assembly field, processes field, rep field, senate field, only governorship given to him. But he cleverly managed himself and took enough time to make sure that the assembly was on his side. Some of the senators were on his side. Some of the rep were on his side before he started bearing his front. Right. Now, in this case now, we're in a situation where the Court of Appeal has said, if we're not even careful, they need to go and represent the budget. Do you know what that really means potentially if they get to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court agrees with the Court of Appeal? That is the challenge of managing people's interests when they don't think through their action before they take it. So yes, if Wike is the one that is being blamed, he has to carry the blame of his excesses. But at the end of the day, what is the process and the procedure for doing it? PDP is not like APC that has a president that can use extra gravitas of state or even the persuasive patronage of state to get people to behave. People will be doing like they have the right to do as they want, because except for your party constitution, the next thing you must take into consideration is the law.
All right. Osoba show me. I mean, we would have loved to have you, for a longer time. Brilliant and articulate as always, but I'm afraid that we have to.
The political parties have not been able to help themselves to achieve the internal party democracy. And they are now allowing the judiciary to clean up the dirty mess they've left for themselves. And that's why, whilst other climes and jurisdiction will talk about political questions coming from party issues, the judiciary in Nigeria is invited to intervene. So whether parties have complied with their constitution, whether they've been able to conduct their elections, whether they've been able to conduct their primaries the way they ought to conduct them, amongst others. These are so many issues that the court has been invited to intervene. And that takes them, going by the electoral law, takes them about 180 days. And you can imagine the time frame wasted in trying to clean up what the political parties have not been able to achieve on their own. But going into the main issue of post-election disputes, I believe that the judiciary, they fared fairly well, because what would have been the contrary is that it will be resort to violence or mob action or anarchy, as the case may be. But because of the intervention of the judiciary, I believe that it has helped to stabilize the polity to a very large extent, because people now feel that win or lose, agree or not, they have an option, and the option is to go before the judiciary. And what have the judiciary been able to achieve? They've been able to have a blend of both technical and substantial justice. They've been able to rigorously interpret the electoral laws and the constitutions as it affects it. They've also been able to ensure that where parties are announced or candidates are announced in a way and manner they ought not to be, that it can be reversed. But the question you have posed is quite germane, in the sense that, is it really in the place of the judiciary to make a final proclamation in such a dispute, instead of invalidating it and calling for a fresh election? Is it in the place of the judiciary ultimately to announce another candidate? I believe that seems to be the issue that is bothering a lot of people, especially Nigerians. As far as the electoral law and constitution are concerned, yes, the judiciary are right there. But one would have preferred a situation where, after such a vigorous interpretation of the law, the Supreme Court or any of the courts intervening can simply declare that the election is invalidated and there should be a fresh election. So to that extent, we will now question the correctness or otherwise of some of those pronouncements. We know of some of the recent cases around the country and some other areas where people have questioned the Supreme Court in that regard, whether it is in their place to announce a candidate who obviously may not have come first, second, or third as the rightful winner of an election, instead of nullifying or invalidating that election. So the challenges are there. But give and take, we cannot rule out the fact that the judiciary has done well, and the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court of Nigeria is quoted extensively all over the world, in Africa, South Africa, and so on and so forth. But again, another issue is that the electoral law seems to have made things a little bit more cumbersome. Kenya has including the new electoral law, because we question the fact that people, after months or years after the election, an election can now be nullified. And we have not seen it in many other places. We have not seen it in US, even Kenya. Odinga has just gone to court in Kenya, and the Supreme Court of Kenya is giving about 14 days for the case to be heard and disposed of, even before the inauguration of the president. We should be thinking of how we can achieve that, so that we can create the scenario whereby we can have the election and all the candidates put in place before the inauguration, anytime, whether it is in May or otherwise. So we have to be looking at that to see how we can correct that imbalance, because it does not seem to be working very well for our system. Thank you.
All right, then. Professor Morgan, you're going to have the final word here, because we're coming to time.
Thank you. I'll just keep it very brief. And that is that we should ask ourselves whether what we are practicing in the first place is democracy, or whether we have elections every 4 years. There's a difference between the two. When you talk about democracy, you're talking about also democratic institutions, which include the judiciary, other institutions of government functioning as independent institutions. So that's a very important point. The other question that we should also ask ourselves is democracy an end in itself, or is it a means to an end? Do you have a real democracy on an empty stomach? If you have democracy and people are so poor that they cannot feed, but you have maybe what you might call a military dictatorship, many of the countries of Asia were not built as democracies. Their economies were built by military dictators. But those dictators were visionary dictators. There's a difference between a visionary and benign dictatorship and a dictatorship such as we've had in Africa that has tended to concentrate power in the hands of the military. Now, let's come back to General Babangida in closing. He was a very visionary president. Whatever you might disagree on some things, but he was visionary. He used a lot of intellectuals. He ruled with ideas and, elevated people who had ideas. What is our politics today? In our politics today, if you speak about ideas, they will say you're blowing grammar. That Bobo is just blowing grammar. So the quality of our democracy is going down, and we think we're practicing democracy. Look at the politicians. Yes, it is through the voter education process and through this matter of who are we as Nigerians. What is our worldview? What is our national philosophical foundation? We don't know who we are. We don't know where we have come from. We don't know where we are going. Can we come together in a democratic process if you have not addressed that basic question? And that comes back to the issue of leadership. Whoever has the responsibility today must be made to know that you must begin to lay this foundation and hand over the baton. We cannot wait forever until some messiah shows up. It doesn't work that way.
Then on democracy, I've heard views that appear contradictory. We want to zone what? Zone the right to serve. It is your turn to do what? There are some pride, self-interest in all of that. And the one provocative question I want to make is that people must understand that to be a technocrat doesn't make you competent leader. The qualities of leadership don't flow from classroom. And I want to repeat that. Sometime in US, both Republican and Democrat, if you watch CNN at the eve of the elections, will say they have challenges getting an electable material. To be electable is not necessary to be educated, to be a professor, to be a technocrat. There are other leadership abilities. And I think one of the things IBB taught us is that you can unite the country by going around the 36 states and FCT. You will find competent, able technocrats to manage different aspects of the Nigeria polity, society, and economy. You don't have to be president to contribute. And that is why if anybody can have a compendium of those who play different responsible roles, policy-making roles in Nigeria, the IBB, you will find that virtually all the 774 local government can point to somebody who was appointed on account of what value it can add. So I want to salute you for bringing this, for organizing this thing, because we don't really celebrate leaders until they are no more. It's nice to be celebrated when you are around. As a union man, we had a opportunity to interact with IBB, and there are a few things I learned. If he doesn't get an answer for you, he creates a platform to keep talking while he is taking of the answer. So he's not elected, he's not bound to allow conversation. He can decree, as military always, I decree as follows. And it's a law. But the country was encouraged to debate and debate and debate. And to be honest, not to debate. We are all somehow guilty. So I want to appeal to the panelists, because when I listen to people talk about it, I spent all my life until I became a governor interrogating power, questioning some of the decisions. And one of the IBB legacies, I'm not sure I agree with it or I don't agree, but he was a thinker. He believed that government cannot continue to run everything and set up TCPC or whatever it was, do privatization of what can be privatized, and government hold on what it can do best. Every other government has taken with privatization, even though some did it in a manner that is absolutely embarrassing, like the way the distribution companies were handed over to people who know next to nothing. So families were had to handle. So they did the privatization, but not in the manner that it was conceptualized and as provided for in the enabling act that set up the privatization.
All right.
So, short man, short speech. I want to thank you for the opportunity. But I thought that
please put your hands together.
knowing that IBB encouraged people of diverse background. Other IBB's economic team, you have Professor Aboyade, a seasoned conservative. Yeah. There you have Izemiro, tech communist. And then you have, between the two extremes, you have the liberals. So you have engagement, not in terms of Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, in terms of policy choices. And I think the media, I'm happy two of you are there, channels and Arise.
Yes, sir.
You should also help. When people bring religion, shut it down. And play up. You can notice, each time you ask, what is the solution? You don't get loud voices. What is the problem? Everybody shouted. We all know it. So when people come and ask you, where is this man from who wants to be governor? Where is this man from what? Tell them that is not what matters.
Thank you very
What
much.
matters is what we live differently so that we stop lamenting and stop moving forward. Stop agonizing and start organizing. Nigeria will go on. I'm not here to lament. We have a future. And my children must have a future.
And
it's a duty that we must
to
perform.
I'm listening attentively to the discussion of the panelists. But I think the missing link here is we are discussing about addressing the problems of this country. I'm talking about the future. And I think the future should be education. Because if there is any legacy left for us by the colonialists, it's education. And if we interrogate today, where is education in Nigeria? It remains a very big question. Therefore, I think it is about time all stakeholders in this country come together to try to see how we bring an end to the endless crisis in the educational system, especially the ASU strike. Because as I speak here, I am a victim of ASU strike. I spent 9 years in the university, so instead of 5 years.
To God be the glory forever and ever. Amen. The chairman of this very unique occasion, ladies and gentlemen. I want to appreciate the presentation by my lecturer, Professor Jibo, and the panelists. I appreciate your sagacity. I just want to quickly make this very short intervention that when I was growing up as a child, houses had no fences in Kano, even in the GRAs. What I'm trying to pull out is that the problem of this country, from the elucidation from every panelist up there, is because of the breakdown of value system. When I was growing up in Kano, houses had no fences even in the GRAs. But the value system became devalued. We started building fences. Growing up as a child, the only place I see fences is either a zoo or a prison yard. Gradually, the situation deteriorated. We started having tall fences. It further deteriorated. We started having broken bottles of minerals as barriers on our fences. It further deteriorated. We started having barbed wire. Today, it is electric fence. From the wear of dogs, we now have the wear of hyena, the wear of lions, showing how the entire society have become depleted. The Holy Book says, bring up a child in the way of the Lord, and when he grows up, he will not depart from it. It is our orientation from the family unit level that has completely broken down. And this have not been, it's not an advantage, because all our curriculum from primary school to university do not support system. If you see an American child at age 5, he can tell you about the dream of America. That's why when they are singing their national anthem when playing football, you see some of them crying. Because at a kindergarten level, you are taught nationalism. You are taught education. You are taught moral philosophy. Even as a child, you already know what it takes to be an American and what it takes to protect America. The only social orientation we have in our education curriculum is social studies. And what does it teach? It teaches you about Jaja of Okpobo, Awolowo of Western Nigeria, Azikiwe of Eastern Nigeria, and Sadona of Northern Nigeria. And even as a child, you are already indoctrinated with ethnic consciousness. So we must go back. We cannot get it right, whether electoral, political, or economy, once we don't have the right attitude, the right values, and the right orientation. Nobody teaches you about Nigeria today. Today, history has been taken away from our curriculum in secondary school. It's no longer there. No more vocational studies. No more technical drawing. All the technical schools and colleges are down. These are primary values that we must go and resuscitate. No matter the grammar we speak here, no matter the policy direction we give, once we do not have the right attitude to manage whatever policy, manifesto, or ideology, we will not get there. So my advice is we need to go back to the basics. This attitudinal shift is the primary thing. Because if you don't even know your country, you don't even divide your country. When I was growing up, there's no Hausa, there's no Yoruba. When it was Christmas, I can tell the streets, up to the 20th street after my street in Kano, we share rice, and during Salah, we also get tuwo shinkafa. Today, I don't even know who is my immediate neighbor in Metama. These are the value systems that we need to get back to. There is no Boko Haram or bandit today who no human being will pick up a gun and shoot a fellow human being if you're not under influence. Drugs have taken over all our young ones, and the attendant satanic manifestation is what we are getting. So let's get back to the basics, go back to family unit reorientation, then we start from there before we can get to all these big grammar level. Thank you.
I agree with Dino Melaya's submission, 100%, so I don't need to address it. Let me speak to His Excellency, former Governor Oshiomhole, on the matter of zoning. I want to make an important clarification. Everybody here knows that I have offered myself in the past and was a presidential candidate in the 2019 election. And even in the 2023 cycle, I also offered myself in the context of my political party, but did not get the ticket for reasons that my resignation letter from the political party stated very clearly, and which was what Dr. Babayo was referring to. And the reality is that many political parties, especially the smaller ones, that many of us had thought would be effective counterweights to the APC and the PDP, because we were not happy with what people saw as political corruption in APC and PDP. And so we decided to try alternative vehicles. I can tell you flat out that many of these parties are worse than the big parties we complain about. Let me explain. They're worse because Henry Kissinger once said that the reason that the politics of the academia is so vicious. Remember that Henry Kissinger was a professor at Harvard and then later became the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State of the United States. And so, reflecting on his time in academia, he said, the reason the politics of the academia is so vicious is precisely because the stakes are so small. Maybe people are fighting to death about who will become the head of department. Maybe people are fighting to death about who will control some research grant, right? So extrapolate this to the national political situation and you will get what I'm saying. Many of these parties, not all, I'm not saying all, but many, they're not even serious about winning elections. Certainly not the presidential election. The reason some of them exist is simply to become trading platforms, either aligning with the big parties or taking money from candidates, but they're not serious about fielding competitive candidates for elections. They're just looking, yes, they're either surrogates or party officials are looking for who will bring money to them in order to get the ticket. And if you don't, they can bypass you and pick people that other people can objectively look at and say, was this really the best choice? Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is the point that I was trying to make concerning that particular issue about our democracy. Many of our political parties are not serious. They are not in this to win. It's a trading, it's a hustle for them. And so then what makes them better than APC or PDP? We complain about APC and PDP. Yeah, 100 million naira form. It's a matter of scale. In some parties, the form may be 20 million or 15 million or 30, but the same issue is taking place. So, but that's by the way. Let me address the matter of zoning very briefly. And the reason I brought up my own experience is because I made it very clear that I'm not offering myself to be president of Nigeria based on where I come from. My politics was never ethnic. I was seeking to be president because of a vision that I have for this country. But that is not inconsistent with the matter of equity and social justice. I've finally landed. Now, this matter of equity and social justice, there was a study by Harvard University in 2000 called fractionalization. That study empirically proved that where there is a heterogeneous environment, the more heterogeneous it is, the more fractionalized the country is. And they showed by empirical study that Japan and the two Koreas are the two most homogeneous countries in the world. And that European countries were also highly homogeneous in their composition. But that African countries tended to be the most heterogeneous countries on earth. Empirically proved. And that is one of the reasons why in Africa there is a lot of division. And democracy can, if it is not very well managed, contribute to fractionalization. How do you solve that? you can develop a democracy that suits your own local environment. And that is where this zoning matter came up. You also have to look at the matter of constitutional restructuring, because the only way you manage a big, diverse federal state is through a federal system. And that's why you see America is federalism, Australia, Canada, Germany, Brazil, India, so many countries that are big and also have heterogeneous populations tend to be federal states. But in Nigeria, we are running away from the matter of constitutional restructuring. Then we're not serious. So that's why we must come back to that matter. And then we must come back to the matter of zoning. In the matter of constitutional restructuring, we can look at, it's a debate. We can look at, should the presidency, for example, rotate across the 6 geopolitical zones? Switzerland is a confederation. The presidency rotates every 2 years to every one of the 26 cantons in Switzerland. Are you more developed than Switzerland, that recognizes the fact that there are French Swiss, there are Italian Swiss, there are German Swiss, and then you have the Romanced. So in Nigeria, we tend to, I don't believe in running away from issues.
Let me say, today has been a day. I will give a meaning before I drop. The celebrant, distinguished visionary leader, a father, an elder statesman, the chairman of the occasion, and his wife, distinguished senior sons and daughters of Nigeria, particularly General Magoro and General Akilu, senators serving and retired, correction, former governors, senators or members of national and state assemblies here present, fellow brothers and sisters here present as candidates and running mates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, to me, it is an honor to be here. It is an honor indeed at this point in time for me to have emerged as a candidate of my own party, Action Alliance. And then on the second hand, the invitation to honor this occasion of a leader that we saw at work in peacetime and in crisis time. But let me say in a nutshell, that for the number of years some of us were exposed, seeing his work at a close range, we know he was a school to seniors and juniors. He was a school to many elders across Nigeria and indeed African leaders. Let me start with one tiny little one. I was virtually working hard to grow mustache at that age when in 1985, and I'm referring to the services rendered helpless by the likes of General Akilu in holding the country tight. Things were difficult. Everywhere was gloomy. But resilience and sheer style of real leadership kept him to close all aspects of fears or threats or anything that will disturb the entire country from knowing the true state of the country. He kept it himself with the support of the likes of such leaders that do not like to be talked about in public. General Akilu, I beg your pardon, sir. At that time, Nigeria was on the verge of catching fire in the true sense of it. One day, there was a meeting and we were privileged to have been part of those that accompanied members of National Security Council then. When President Babangida came out, he was visibly talking to himself. This is a moment I can never forget. it has a big meaning to me
If you start this,
in the sense that
there will be no end.
when
There
he
are other
came out,
governorship candidates, yeah, that I
service
myself have
chiefs
seen.
of that
If
time
you
were
stop
already
this,
outside.
you won't stop it.
But Soliloquy, indeed, he was
Because
saying, and I quote, he said, everything will sort itself by time. It was strange. That's why some of us, toddlers as we were, we had to climb that. It looked nothing to an ordinary person. But looking at the situation in Nigeria and looking at this sentence or this statement, it means so much. I went on research even as a toddler, only to discover something that most great nations worked upon in achieving greatness. That is to say, there is no end to possibilities in the life of man, in the life of nations. That statement is an open gate of knowledge that you cannot learn nowhere. Between rhetorics and academics and realism of threats or challenges of power management are two different worlds apart. It was up until he made that statement that I got to know numerous events about many countries that rose up to have become the greatest countries on earth. And I cannot thank him enough. Second was when at a later date or years after that event, another thing happened in Nigeria. The executive convener was a small lady who liked to take care and run around the presidency then, but didn't know what was going on. The president had another serious challenge. Lives were lost. All I'm trying to say here is the fact that he faced challenges in 1990, and may also rest in peace, the former First Lady, who, from the events of that time that I do not want to go deep into, but drawing at the lesson I want to mention, is to say that the event of that time brought fear, direct, looking for lives. But then some of us were, in a way, God Almighty used in taking some risk that worked. Now, the siblings
Sorry,
of the...
you have a minute, sir. Thank you very much.
Either, if you say 2 minutes, I thought you are referring to African 2 minutes. The relevance of what I'm talking about, I think are important for you to consider one more African minute. Now, finally, let me say that out of numerous events that had happened during his tenureship are exactly what all of you have summarized. That's all I'm trying to say. You have summarized his legacies, and most of you are going deeper into it, and you are looking at him differently. If his legacies were to be discussed in 1993, shortly before he left office, we wouldn't have gotten these details. Here is a country full of intellectuals who, in most cases, totally robotic, seeing the left side of the person that is in power. That's all I'm trying to say. Now, today, if President Babangida is to contest 2023 election, from the summaries you have all given from the guest speaker to the panelists, to all the speakers we have heard since morning, it shows he is much more needed now in Nigeria than before.
Fantastic.
And finally, that is to say, when Nigeria sit in retrospect, examine our flaws and achievements of yesterday, it is certain that will be the beginning for us realizing who we are. If there is no national retreat, we will not understand who we were. And one of the major challenges is the fact that there are too many actors in one particular scene and at a particular time. What you see is dust and rowdiness and no result or direction for us to see. I'm confident this country will be different. I'm confident the schools we have had from him that we are celebrating today, I think there is so much from knowledge and wisdom that will drive us through. We are in Action Alliance, privileged to be here but we know most of the legacies he left in office and from the tower of wisdom he occupies today, we are tapping from it, and we are sure that and many more that we have garnered will present in us the qualities required of Nigeria at this point in time. And finally, so that you wouldn't raise. In most cases, you used to hear countries like America giving Nigeria a certain period of time for the country to break. Let every intellectual open his brain and think deeper. All this they are telling you is that by your actions, either in power or outside power, the elites are always in your sayings and actions busy promoting causes of insurgency. But the resilience of the poor man, of him that is on the street, is actually what is keeping Nigeria. For example, the panelists as you are, how many of you, from whichever part of the country you are, pick telephone to call the other from the other side in discussing Nigeria's security, welfare, and well-being? You haven't, but you have accused leaders. And I'm sure you haven't. Most calls are from personal interest, not national interest, not Nigeria's unity, security. So if we have to keep Nigeria together, challenge leadership from the point of view of four things when you are looking at Nigeria from home and from the international scene: Nigeria's security, economy, Nigeria's relevance, the word relevance and all it takes, and finally, Nigeria's participation within Committee of Nations regaining its own true state of power. So when we are pointing accusing fingers at some, we should also examine the other side before we pronounce. I, on behalf of my party and the party leadership of Action Alliance, are conveying our birthday felicitations to the leader that, to me, saw it all, tested, tried, survived, with full of knowledge. And one real thing he did was courage, the word courage of all qualities of leadership. And that's where, not only in Nigeria, but around the world, history has recorded numerous failures of leadership where the word courage is missing. Among qualities of leadership that we examine a particular leader with is the capacity to carry all alone, to demonstrate it, and to say it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, wow. Nigeria, I don't even know what else to say about this country. So many things are happening all at the same time. So many things. Back to back to back. There's Allen Onyema. I don't know why something that they said happened in 2016 or when. Why is it now that they want to hang it over him? Don't you find that suspicious? They want to break that man's back so he cannot compete. Eh? The only career that Nigeria can even boast of, that okay, oh, even if it's not a national career, but at least a representation of the country itself, they're looking for ways to just frustrate that man. And the worst part of it is that the leadership in Nigeria is silent. They don't care. And the people that these outsiders are supposed to be going after, to tell you, if nobody is observing this, if nobody is paying attention. I hope you are really paying attention. I hope Nigerians are paying attention about these selective accusations. The people that are the main criminals. During the election, these people turn their blind eye, pretend like they don't see what they happen. Private business owner
when they try, look, I don't know whether the man is innocent or guilty, right? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But I find it suspicious that something that happened a couple of years back, it is now, they are now finding the need to bring this man out, to air him out. I mean, it's crazy. And we don't have leadership in Nigeria. We have nothing. Nobody is going to fight for this man. He's just going to be there by himself. So I want to use this medium to appeal to all Nigerians. Please, this is the time for us to rally around our own. Put aside your sentiments. Put aside your concerns. Everybody should be demanding and asking questions. Why are they holding? Why do they want to accuse? What are they? Even if we accuse, okay, what did the man do? Is it because of the airline? Let's ask them. Let's not just be quiet. You don't have a president. You don't have any representative. This man is just there by himself. If we had a solid government, you see they go both do what they do. Most of their business owners, when they get and when they run from here to Nigeria, none of them pure. Their hand no clean. If we say make we look waiting they don't do, all of us go shock. The kind of business owners when they support directly or indirectly. You know, una not find as suspicious say why be saying that this Allen Onyema, the man won't bring me, don't they prep, I don't they wait since say when this man won't bring the airline come New York or whatever part of America. Make I know as I go take arrange myself. Boom. They can't drop accusation say one thing happen. Not only you know, compared to wetin Halliburton come do for Nigeria. Is Halliburton not still in Nigeria? Is Halliburton not still in Nigeria? The king of them all, the emperor, T-Pain, they don't get wetin they do about am. Not be their person be that. Not be their person. We need, honestly, as Nigerians, we need to ask these people questions. Use your social media platform. Don't just be silent because this is crazy. We dey see this thing koro for eye. Why be say na him all those years? Why they not find am since? Why they not find out? If they get wetin he do, if na to pay money, if na whatever it is that he needs to do, fine, no problem. But not be say they go just hang the man now because he wan bring airline come when he go benefit him own people. You know how much these people they make for us, from us every year? The Nigerians they travel pass. You know how much? When we not make the money, they won't frustrate us locally, frustrate us internationally. Every Nigerian should not just fold their hands and pretend like they don't know what is happening. This is not the time for pretense. This is our own. You can have disagreements. You can agree. You can start fighting each other after we have stood behind our own. Let's not just leave this man out to hang. Everywhere for Nigeria na fight. Meanwhile, your leader, your supposed leader, they see debate when they get now. Your leader is not there. T-Pain is not there. He's flying all over the world. Sorry. That is loud. I want bike guy. Jesus, really noisy bike. Anyway, nobody know where T-Pain dey at this time. The country is upside down. Upside down. See the Ondo State man where go the girlfriend and wife they fight publicly. These are the kind of officials, the kind of politicians that Nigerians have. My God. Ohovelo. Now the kind of leaders wanna get for Nigeria be that people with no shame, no integrity, no care. They don't disgrace your name. Meanwhile, they're gonna say make we speak good of Nigeria. Please, how do you speak good of a country where the leaders are insolent? Like they not get what they not fit do. They do not care about the image of the country. How? How? Nigerians, they do themselves. Instead of them to find, this is the opportunity for Nigerians to come together and decide and fight together and build communities and even be closer. No, instead, everybody when you get small money, if you get 1,000 naira past your neighbor, you don't become oga overnight. you want to be stomping the yard, like saying you be Voltron. I don't understand. Is this how we're going to continue? I know say me, I just dey talk my own for year. Now shout, I fit shout. Now where I fit talk which I go talk which. But it sometimes I just wonder, wetin dey go on for Nigerians' head? Wetin dey go on? A whole senator, a senator of your nation, he come and tell you save Nigerians dey hungry, anywhere they see free food, make dem chop. Ew! They have no solution. That is what is coming out of your senator. That is what is coming out of your senator. He say if una dey hungry, make una go anywhere una see free food. So just be looking around for free food. Anywhere you see free food, collect and chop. That's what a whole senator of a country with over 200 million people. That's what is coming out of his mouth. Meanwhile, every day na fresh unaliving for north, fresh unaliving, fresh unaliving. If they're not unalive, they go kidnap. If they're not unalive, they go kidnap. Meanwhile, their leaders are silent. Every corner in Nigeria, we don't get any leader when we can say, okay, yes, this one stands strong. This one, yes, this one stands strong. None. It's crazy. It really is crazy to me. We don't get elders anymore. The elders have all dissipated into thin air. They don't care. They don't care whether the children like make they on our life finish. Their children, they leave them for house, go they cross ocean. Don't say waiting. Small pikin not supposed to use the eye see. Don't go see them trying to cross the ocean. Some of them know they come out alive. Women go marry, they know they fit talk to their husbands. I never see that kind of thing before. They'll just marry, they'll go mute. They know they fit challenge their husbands when in their position. They don't know if you tell them, say, come, not be like this, we go take one. Not when I'm here. We must do something that's going to leave a lasting. No, they don't discuss that. It's how they're going to be holidaying in all over the world, oppressing their neighbors. I am the one that is the Oga's wife. Sorry, Nigerians, since I've known and since I've been small until now, I don't see, we don't get any one leader. We don't have a Thomas Sankara. We don't have Patrice Lumumba. We don't have people. Even Nelson Mandela, when they do yap now, we don't get. Stephen Biko, we don't get. Martin Luther King type, we don't get. For Nigeria, that country big rich. It's a shame. It really is a shame. I don't know where they started to call us giants. Where that name come from? Because as far as I'm concerned, even looking back in history, we've been mosquito, lily livered people. Lily livered. Everybody's just concerned about their own pocket. Even with the regionalization, nothing when those people really do for their region. No progress. No development, nothing, nothing to show for it. They go just put them for position, nothing to show, nothing. Now, individuals, private citizens, when I get small money, they'll say, okay, let me tar this road from here to my house at least, and to where my vehicle will pass. That's where their money reach with that. They must benefit themselves. Every citizen in Nigeria is a mini government. You produce your water, you produce your electricity, you produce your security, you produce your shelter, everything. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Please, let Allen Onyema's matter not enter voicemail. Because if this is the only thing you people will do, join hand and do. Make sure you ask questions. Why now? Why are they bothering the man now? When whatever it is they are accusing him of happened, why did they not question it? Why is it important now? That's the question everybody should be asking. We've been waiting for an airline that we can call and say, okay, yes, this one a Nigerian airline, maybe we patronize them. But no, they don't want competition. But they want to make money off of you. They want to take your resources and make money off of it for free. They don't want to give you anything back in return. You don't find that disturbing? You don't find that suspicious? Anyway, we can live on. Today na Sunday, another week ahead. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you guys on my next one. Aluta continua. We move. We know we keep quiet. So, but if we keep quiet, we too were complacent. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. Kenny, thank you very much. I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye.